Da, 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 da. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Samara Grace Daniels channeling Mother Mary for you on 3/3 of 2024. March it is, and I think Mother Mary is going to be giving us some marching orders tonight. I was just talking with some of the group before we started the recording, and I was saying that Mother Mary is always just incredibly, incredibly loving. And our friend Richard said, well, maybe it's time for some tough love, and maybe that's what she's going to offer tonight. And I think that might be exactly what she's going to offer, but I never know for sure. I'm coming to you from South Carolina. I'm near the ocean on Myrtle Beach. And so if the internet connection's a little wonky, I'm sorry. I'm going to do the best that I can and hopefully just stay tuned in and listen and see what she has to say. So let's just take a moment and come into our peaceful hearts, because that's the best place to hear any kind of information, but especially that coming from Mother Mary and beams of light to bring us love. So just take a moment, maybe even put your on your heart and invite invite love, wisdom, and maybe a little kick in the butt. So here we go. Well, I don't know if I would appreciate so much what Samara just said about tough love and being testy, but anyway, here goes. I think the thing that I really want to explain to all of you that have been listening this moment, I just mean bringing light and love and compassion into the world, whatever your philosophical or religious or spiritual practices are, is fine. But it really is about bringing in love. Step it up, step it up, step it up, step up. And what do I mean by that? I think that the overriding principles that all of you have studied and learned and practiced have led you to be kind and compassionate most of the time. And I'm very, very happy about that. But still, the world is reeling from so much other information and negativity and all of that. So what do I mean about step it up? I have a couple of ideas for you. And of course, as always, take what resonates with you and discard whatever doesn't. Most of you have heard the concept about oneness. We're all one. And it sounds very nice. You know, you could put it on a card, you can do a little drawing, put a flower on it. But what does that really mean? What does it really mean? And so tonight I want to talk to you about something that perhaps you've studied and perhaps you haven't, the Oversoul. How many of you are familiar with the Oversoul? With that? Not so sure. Okay. A little bit, little bit. Well, again, we could spend hours and hours talking about it, but for the purposes of what I want to share with you tonight, the Oversoul is your connection to all that is. So, of course, you have your own, shall we say, personal soul, and you incarnate it into, and you're putting out love and compassion, and that's all beautiful. But how can you affect larger numbers of people? How can you affect people on the other side of the world that you don't know? The short answer, and I'm going to do my best to explain it tonight, is to connect with the Oversoul that is, if you could see the drawing, it's like you're one circle, right? And then here's each of you are another circle, and you're all in your own being and your own soul. But the Oversoul is like taking all of those drops, if you will, and now having the ocean. So when Jesus incarnated, everyone said, okay, brought the seeds of love, unconditional love, brought the matrix of the Oversoul into this planetary realm. So what I'm asking of you is to not only recognize this conceptually, that I'm a soul and there's something called an oversoul, but to invite the experience of the oversoul, to invite joining into the oversoul. And I'll talk about how to do that in just a moment. And so what I mean about stepping it up is that, you know, not everyone is destined to build an orphanage in India or to, you know, I don't know, go negotiate peace in the Middle East or something. But all of you can join in the oversoul experience in which you allow all the love that you are, all the beauty and compassion and grace that you contain, that you have, to be merging into the oversoul that is the oversoul of, at least for now, um, all of the earth beings that are here. So it's a practice in which you not only meditate, you actually experience the oneness of all of us, of all beings, of those who have passed on, those who are still on the planet, and those who are yet to be. Because all of it is part of this beautiful, beautiful, all that is energy. So when we talk about this, I know sometimes it's like, what is she saying? What is she really saying? You all know that I'm in each of you. I mean, Samar's to channel me more often than maybe some of you are doing, but that doesn't mean you couldn't. It just means she's had more practice. So I'm in you. Jesus is in you. Michael is in you. In you. You know, everyone who's ever lived, sort of a quantum physics spirituality, if you will. And so now, in this time that we're in order to be even more effective as light workers, as bringers of hopefully a new earth, to create an experience in which you actually move into the oversoul in, I guess I would just call it in a meditation or experiential way, allows you to posit some of this glorious feeling that you bring. And so it's not like prayer. Prayer is beautiful. Prayer is worthy. Prayer is wonderful. This is really a kind of merging into the oversoul of Earth's destiny. I see some faces are feeling very puzzled right now. But I want you to just let that thought move into you, just move into you, and just think about it for a moment. Many of you have been able to contact loved ones who've crossed over, right? No longer in a body. Who am I talking to? How am I talking to them? What is it that is in this conversation, right? Well, the short answer is when you're doing something like that, when you're connecting with someone who's passed over, you and they are joining in a place that I would call the oversoul, the place that has no beginning, no end, and always is. And so it's lovely to communicate with a loved one who's passed over and to feel them and to know that they're still with you, because of course they are. But by the same token, you can also connect with those who have not yet incarnated. You could begin to move into the oversoul and say things like, this is a planet of love, compassion, care for the earth, etc., etc. You could put that, this sort of energy of creation. So again, going back to what I started with when I say step it up, I want you to start realizing that your contributions are very, very valuable, and they can be even greater if you begin to realize that you not only have a say in what's happening in your day-to-day life and the people that you meet and talk to and interact with, you have a soul that can connect into the oversoul in a way that is will make you speechless and happy at the same time. Though is really poised in a funny way for new creations. And what will be created is up to everyone. There's no set thing that will happen or won't happen. It's really up to everyone and what they're doing. And so I would just like to invite you in a couple of opportunities. I'm going to create a meditation with Samara about the oversoul. She didn't know that until this moment. And really interesting. If you're getting on a, give me is nice, if you're getting into a rocket ship and going into a different gravitational field. When you watch these rocket launchers, right, there's always like a booster, right, that gets them into, out of the Earth's field and puts them into a place where they can just float around and go more quickly. And then the booster rocket just sort of falls away. It's no longer necessary. So again, this is just for the sake of trying to help you understand this concept. It's not exactly right, but for the sake of this concept, your biography is your booster rocket. Got you where you are now. And it's wonderful. It's absolutely perfect. But in a little while, it'll be irrelevant. It'll be irrelevant because what you will be participating in, if you choose, of course, is a field that you call the unified field of grace, where you're meeting the people you're meant to meet, you're sharing what you're meant to share with each other, and there is no history to it in a funny way. There is only the promise that you came to fulfill. So this concept, I know it's going to take a little time for you to just be with, but when you think about some of the souls that have lived on this earth that I consider rocket ship material, for a while they gave up their personal identity, right, to be who they came to be. Whether you think of Gandhi, for instance, who gave up his career as a lawyer, right, to have an entirely different life. Or even Mother Teresa, who was no longer a quiet little nun in the back room of the room, who was now on a worldwide mission. What happened? What happened? And again, to go back to my analogy, what happened was the booster rocket got them to where they needed to be, and then they let it go. And so it isn't that you won't care about your family, identify as, for Samara, a white girl who was raised on Long Island, it's like, it's just irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And so what I'm wanting for each of you is to not only take this concept in and be with it, but if you choose, experience it. Experience being part of God, of the Oversoul, of all that is, however, whatever language feels right to you. It's a humbling experience as well as an energizing and enlivening experience, because so much of this life that you have led up until now, your biography has been about, achieving this and getting that and having this and, and again, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But when you move into living as a soul, if you will, in this oversoul connection, none of that matters. People, you don't care who, where they came from or, all of that. It's just like, oh, you again. Hello, hello. Because you're navigating into a different dimension. And in this dimension that I'm speaking about, what I'll call the oversoul world, so much can happen and be created. You're moving out of the density of the third dimension that you're all living in, which there's all this disagreement and pointing of fingers and blame and victim and on war and all that. And you're moving into really a different world, a world in which soul knows, not afraid. And there's no ego involved. It's not like, oh, this one's higher than that one. It's really an extraordinary experience. And so I'm hoping some of you want to get on board with that. Issues in this world of judgment and hatred and, division and all of that is just very, very tiring to every soul that is in that energy. So we want to lift as many of you as possible, because you're lifting yourselves. We're helping you lift. We're helping you jettison the booster rocket and live in that soul energy so that you can really live as you're meant to live. Because the more of you that are doing that, in the past we talked about 144,000. I don't know, it might take a few more than that these days. But it's to realize I no longer need to identify with my biography. I want to identify with my divinity. And that's a very different experience. The cost right now of not doing this is very great. The amount of time and energy and money that is being spent warring against each other is taking a huge toll everywhere. And we, as the beings of light, we are not in your world to change it. We are here to help inspire and assist and all of that, but we don't have a body anymore. We're not in that world. And so how do we help you change it? We help you elevate your consciousness beyond the 3D world. Or Maitreya, however you want to call him, he goes by all those names. What was so special about him? And I know in your Bible or some of your books called him the Son of God. Well, you are all the sons and daughters of God. Goodness. But what is God? Is God some figure with a beard with a little scorecard, marking down whether you were good or bad? No, that's Santa Claus. That's not God. God is the essence of your soul connected to all the souls that have ever been or will be. The essence of light, the essence of love, the energy of all. So God is not a person. When you feel love, you are feeling Godness. And so that's what we want for all of you, to feel more of that, to feel that Godness that is here for everyone. So the meditation will be out probably in a week or so. But in the meantime, any of you that are really sort of fascinated with this and interested, I've asked Samara just now, she didn't know this yet, to set up a special kind of reading for you with me, with the Oversoul, and with probably Metatron or maybe Joshua, we don't know. And so if you feel called to that, you can just email her later and she'll set that up for you, because having that information sort of personalized for you might be what helps you to absorb the information and then, hopefully move on from there. So is it about leadership? Yes and no. You don't have to go be the head of something. We'd rather you be the heart of something. But if you are interested in this, in participating in this Oversoul experiment, if you will, what you're doing is not unlike what you've already been doing, just at a high frequency, I guess, with a slightly different intention, with the intention of, okay, I'm going to pour my field of light and grace into the unified field of light and grace, bypassing the wars and the poverty and the homelessness and all the, bypassing that for now, merging with the Oversoul. Because what I want to do is make that Oversoul so full of promise and possibility and gloriousness and love and energy that it then can benefit and help those who are currently suffering from any of those challenges. You are the sons and daughters of God. I, I wish I could make that even more real for you, because what does that mean? You are capable of so much, so much. And so these readings that would be helpful for some of you, I think, are really about letting go of unworthiness or any feeling like, well, it's just me, because it isn't just you. When you join in the Oversoul, it's all of us. Imagine that. It's like having a spiritual army, if you will, of love and possibility and creation. It's an enormous undertaking, and it's so rewarding. It's just so rewarding. And I want, in the future, when I come on these recordings and speak to you, I want to celebrate your lives, celebrate what we're doing, celebrate the joy of creation with each of you. It's time for that. Yeah, and suffering in certain ways. And we want you to do whatever you feel to do in each of those cases. But more powerfully is to shift the energy of the collective. Just think about that for a second. The collective is what sort of, it's like the weather, right? The collective is what everyone's experiencing. And so if the collective begins to be uplifted and energized and brought into this place of compassionate community, it will change the world. It will really change the world. So for tonight, I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it, because I would like each of you to join with me, if you feel to do so, me and Samara and some of the others, so we can privately make a couple of tweaks and adjustments, if again, with your permission and with your choice. I think part of what Samara was saying about my being testy, I feel a weariness sometimes. Maybe you do also. So many people are praying for peace. So many people are praying for health for others. So many people are praying that we don't have homelessness and all of these things. And we appreciate those prayers. We do. But it's not enough. It's not enough. We need you, the change makers and the light bringers, in a whole new way, to shift the collective consciousness from fear and misery, victimhood, into celebration and love and co-creation. So I hope you will join with all of us in stepping up and into the power of who you are, the power of love, and the power of your light. So much love. I'll bring Samara back to chat with those of you that are on the call. So I hope to be talking with you very, very soon and having lots and lots of tweaking